Hi everyone, it's John. I wanted to do a tag that was floating around that I've seen nearly everyone I'm subscribed to do. It's the 20 random questions tag. It's nothing terribly book specific, but I thought I would do it because there's at least one question to which I have, I think, a unique answer. And by unique, I mean in the genuine sense of the word unique. I don't think I know anyone else that can actually answer the question in this way, and it'll be probably pretty obvious which answer that is when I get there. But I'll start off with number one. What's the nearest place to you that's so famous everybody knows it, and how near is it? Well, I live pretty much, if you're familiar with the geography of South Central Texas, pretty much smack dab between Austin and San Antonio. So, if anything you happen to know or recognize is in Austin, that's about 40 miles up the road in one direction. So, there's UT Austin, and for those of you who might be music fans, there's South by Southwest, the relatively well-known music festival that people come from all over the world to go see. In San Antonio, in the opposite direction, there is the Alamo. I don't know how well known the Alamo is outside of the United States either, but there you go. Number two, have you ever had a paper cut so bad you thought you might die of it? No, not even close. In fact, I think I can count the number of times I've had a paper cut on one hand, pretty much. Thick skin, I guess. I don't know. Number three, have you ever found anything genuinely valuable in a used book you bought? On a number of occasions, I've found a dollar bill or a loose coin or something. And I guess that's genuinely valuable, but not very valuable. Nothing useful, nothing very intrinsically valuable. Even money, I guess, is not intrinsically valuable. Okay, so here's the interesting one. Number four. Have you ever read, met, or married Jacques Barzun? And the answer to two of those questions is yes. Have not married, would have offered, but I don't think he swings that way. I have read and met him on several occasions. So, since it's the interesting answer, I guess I'll provide you with a bit of backup. For those who are not familiar, Jacques Barzun was a pretty major French-born but U.S. adopted historian who taught for many, many, many years at Columbia. And in his later years, in the mid 90s, I think, when he was nearly 90 years old already, he married a woman by the name of Marguerite who lived in San Antonio. And from that time to the end of his life, he died in October of 2012. He lived in San Antonio, and he eventually passed away here. He was, I believe, 104 when he died. He is mostly renowned for his longevity and, of course, his historical scholarship and work, but his longevity was something else, and he was very, very cogent right up until the end, too. I used to live in San Antonio, very near, where he used to live, and somewhat close to downtown. And this was in 2008, when phone books were still somewhat of a thing. So, after having learned that he actually lived in San Antonio, I looked him up in the phone book, and there was his phone number and his address. It's weird to think you used to be able to do that one day, but so I called him, and his housekeeper answered the phone, and I asked if I could talk to him, and eventually we just sort of built up a rapport. And over a period of weeks and months, I went over to his house dozens of times. Well, actually, probably a couple of years. I went over to his house dozens of times, probably at least once a month, just to go talk with him. He certainly didn't need me to keep him company, like many 100-year-olds might appreciate. He had many, many colleagues, friends who would come in from out of state to come visit him and talk to him and have conversation. I'm sure that he found much more fulfilling than the ones we did, but at the time I was oh goodness, I guess about a 23 or 24-year-old, fairly fresh out of college kid, and was just soaking up the fact that I would be able to talk with someone like this. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to have this privilege for very long. So I wanted to milk as many conversations I possibly could um, out of getting to know him. And I did. Um, like I said, I think I first met him in 2008, and I last met him it was either 2010 or 2011. Things just sort of dwindled down over a period of time, but it was fascinating. He was fascinating. He was probably one of the not only one of the best known scholars of the music of Hector Berlioz, the great 19th century French Romantic composer, but also one of the biggest fans of his music, and could just talk about anything endlessly and intelligently. And I just soaked it up. I was um, just sort of an acolyte at his feet. It was wonderful. That is my Jacques Barzon story. If anyone has any questions about him that I think I might be able to answer, um, please feel free to leave them below. And as long as it's relatively decent and appropriate, I'll try to get you an answer. Number 5. Aside from your pets, what is the specific non-human animal you see most often? Mute my phone. I think I know who that was. Non-human animal I see most often would probably be the birds I see outside of my window, my dining room window right here, and occasionally the squirrel that tries to steal the bird seed. But many more birds than squirrels, thankfully. Have you ever been inside of a cathedral? If more than one, do you have a favorite? I think I've just been inside one, and I think it was possibly when my cousin got married, maybe. Um, it was San Fernando Cathedral, which is located in downtown San Antonio, and was founded in 1731. Big, beautiful um, Spanish missionary style cathedral. Not surprisingly, for those of you who are familiar with the history of South Texas, it's Spanish missionary. Have you ever been actually seeing and hearing things delirious? And excuse me, that's my cat who wants outside, but I can't get up and do anything about it right now because I don't know how to edit videos. Have you actually been seeing and hearing things delirious? I actually had to go to the hospital once because I suspected that I was just feeling a bit weird. It turned out that I had a relatively high blood sugar. And before being admitted to the hospital, the doctors had to give me a pretty high dose of insulin or some equivalent to insulin to bring down your blood sugar. And they gave me so much because I needed so much that it made me need to use the restroom. The restroom was out the door and to the right. I turned right and collapsed on the floor, like syncope, right? just didn't even see it coming. Just my knees fell out from under me, and I didn't fall flat on my face or anything. I didn't hurt myself, but when I came to, which only took me about a second or two, I had this sort of tintinnabulation in my ears, which the doctors told me was could have very easily been from the rapidly changing um, levels of glucose in my blood. So um, thankfully it went away in about 10 or 15 minutes. Do you have blood relatives who read for pleasure? Number 8. There are a number of blood relatives I don't see on a regular basis, who when I do see them, we don't really discuss books. So I don't know about those, but my mother's sister, one of them, does. And my mother does too. She tends to like things very, very different from what I like. She likes authors like J.D. Robb, and she loves, oh goodness, I'm forgetting one she really, really likes. She also likes things that are centered around the Holocaust and Holocaust-driven fiction and nonfiction. But she likes Nicholas Sparks novels, things like that. So we read very, very, very different things, but she does read for pleasure. How many species have you smooched on the lips? I think the commonly agreed upon answer here is 3, including humans, and that's my answer too. Dogs and cats being the other 2. Do you ever listen to the radio? And do you have any favorite programs or people? When I used to find myself in the car on Saturday mornings, I would always listen to NPR and Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me with Peter Siegel. I think that's his name. Nowadays, I listen more to the BBC and the podcast that they do called In Our Time, which is hosted by a man by the name of Melvin Bragg, which is a fascinating podcast in case anyone has not ever listened to it. And then I listen to the local San Antonio classical music station, which is called KPAC, 88.3 FM. Number 11, have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Louvre? No, to all 3. What little thing do you miss most that you've lost due to the pandemic? And I had to think about this. It's probably not being able to leave my house randomly without thinking about it, just for the purposes of being spontaneously social or just wanting to do something off the cuff. For example, bookstores, not that that's especially social, but farmers markets. Now you can go out and eat at restaurants, but you couldn't for a good long time in Texas. Things like that. Things that now seem like you have to think about if you can do them first before you can actually walk out the door and do them. Number 13, what little thing do you miss least that you've lost due to the pandemic? I work from home, so as far as my day-to-day, Monday through Friday life goes, not a lot has really changed. So, not too much for that one. What is your... Someone is awfully vocal today. What is your relationship with small talk? Someone's obviously good at it. Do you hate it like acid? Love it? Or are you merely competent? One of the things I hate most in life is small talk with someone I hardly know. I'm competent with small talk with acquaintances, small talk with friends, but small talk with someone I hardly know is painful. And it's also interesting to note that one person's small talk is another person's meaty conversation. So keep that in mind. Number 15, have you ever won money at gambling? I think so on a number of occasions, but the one I remember is there is a restaurant, an old historic restaurant that has been converted into a restaurant slash motel in a town adjacent to where I live called the Faust Hotel, just like Goethe's Faust. And they have once a week, or maybe it's twice a month, a trivia night. And to enter trivia night, you have to pay, I think it was $5 or $10 to participate. And at the end of the night, I would regularly win first or second place. So, insofar as that you actually had to put money up that you could lose, I guess that was gambling. So, number 16, do you ever give money or time to charities? And to be 100% honest, not that I can think of. Number 17, do you craft, knit, crochet, woodwork, or throw pottery? I used to sew in elementary and middle school. I think this question is specifically getting at crafting, but I also used to be a musician. I don't know if I would use the word musician. I used to play the cello and the piano. Quickly found out I was not going to take that anywhere professionally. And then I cook. So I don't know if that's a form of crafting. I'm trying to sort of think outside the box since I don't do knitting or crocheting or woodworking. So I'm a pretty competent cook. Number 18, do you talk to yourself when you're alone? It is like a constantly running monologue around here. Yes, all the time. Number 19, were you or are you a social queen bee in college? No. I don't think I ever participated in a single extracurricular thing in college. Was not in a fraternity. Did not join political clubs. Clubs driven by hobbies, interests, anything like that. I just kind of wanted to do my work and not talk to anyone and turn it in and get my grade and go home. Number 20, last but not least, are you a sunrise person or a sunset person? And only because I happen to be probably more awake during them, a sunset person. There's just something about dusk and crepuscular hours generally that attract me more than sunrises do. But those are the 20 questions. I would urge tag anyone who's interested in them. These seem to be pretty diverse questions, so I'm sure everyone will have at least one interesting answer. I hope you liked my interesting answer, and maybe the other 19 as well. I will see you very soon, possibly tomorrow or Wednesday, with another long-form book review. I will see you later. Bye.